YA, welcome to this week's edition of our Crew Notes, where we are getting right stuck in, talking this week about the gospel. How do we share the gospel in word and in action? What does that look like for our lives? Because it's the crux of who we are as Christians. We need to share the gospel, otherwise people can't hear about the gospel.
100%.
110%. Now, we've called this week Actions Speak Louder Than Words, but I think it's kind of up for debate a little bit. But before we get in there, also up for debate is overrated, underrated. So I'm going to quickly chuck some things at you, and you just tell me whether you think it's overrated, underrated.
All right.
Magic tricks.
Overrated.
Underrated.
Okay, you've seen some terrible magic tricks in your life.
Just terrible.
Terrible.
I've tried some and they're hard.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Okay, you've been disappointed many times.
With myself.
Calvin Klein underwear.
Overrated.
Oh, no, I love it. So yeah, underrated.
I'm with you. Naps.
Underrated.
Okay.
Big nap.
Solid.
You need a good 3-hour nap in the day.
Good. Picking your nose. Or someone else picking their nose.
It's just a no.
I don't know. That's like overrated. That's underrated. I don't know. It's just disgusting, man. Don't do it.
Just a no.
Friggin' animal.
And I think I know where you're going to go on this one. Paris.
Overrated.
Yeah, overrated. 100%.
Yeah, cool. Great.
Why did you think you knew where I was going to go with that one?
I don't know, because you've told me a story before when you went to Paris.
Oh, yeah.
When you're like, just didn't love Paris.
Yeah.
Anyway, we don't have time to talk about Paris, guys.
Oh, bringing up the past hurts, man.
So, obviously, part of us being in Christ is we need to do what he asked us to do. And when he said in Matthew 28, he said, go preach the gospel to all nations, make disciples of all nations. And obviously there's you can't just constantly be speaking at people because people will just tune out. But there's obviously a big part of the gospel which is doing as well.
Yeah.
How do we find that balance between telling people about Jesus and demonstrating Jesus? Because if you only demonstrate Jesus and don't tell people, then they don't know about Jesus. But if you constantly tell people about Jesus and they don't see it in your actions, then they're just going to tune you out.
Yeah.
How do we find that balance of
It's a great question, Jesse. It's an absolutely phenomenal question, and I love that. Genuinely, I think you have to discern it within the different situations that you find yourself in, different circumstances, and you have to go, okay, yeah, don't just tell me about something, show me. You can show me, but you're going to get a response to it. Why are you doing that? Why do you help these people? Why do you show love that way? So that then you can tell people about it. And I love that it says, go and spread the good news, which means that, Christians, we're meant to be telling people about the good stuff.
Yeah.
And I think often we dwell on maybe the negative stuff or the bad stuff where it's the good news. And so we need to get that balance right of telling people, showing people love in action, but also telling them the goodness. This is why I do it. Do you know what? This is because Jesus has done this for me. And so without it being weird and all that kind of stuff, but we'll get onto that. But I think you've got to discern it in the moments.
Yeah.
Yeah, massively. And I think your story has a lot to say. People see you live it out and people see your testimony and they can't mess with that. They can't question that because that's something you've lived out yourself. And I think that's something that has massively helped me and my group of friends to then go deeper and ask, then why do you do this? And then, so what about Jesus?
Yeah.
It opens that conversation and opens that lane for them to ask about it.
Yeah.
What were some of the things in your life that you found your friends, I guess, were most interested in about your life when you started to talk?
I think the difference in me. So my college friends knew me as college and then not as going to church and stuff, and them seeing that difference in me and be like, oh, so she doesn't do this anymore and she doesn't do that. Or the people that I hung around with had a massive impact. They're like, oh, they're normal. They're not these church people that have this set of rules to follow. It's not necessarily a religion, and showing them that it was about a relationship with God and the goodness that he has for everyone, not just me, not just because I do good things that's why I go to church and that's why Jesus loves me. It's not. He loves me before all that. And it's about telling them that it's for them as well.
Huge.
Yeah, that's big. So how do we actually, you know, because I mean, we need to be transformed by Jesus to actually show people something. How do we actually show people, like, with our actions, the gospel, you know, without saying it yet, you know, because I think we have to earn that right to tell people about Jesus, right? We need to have that respect. So how do we, like, actually effectively show people?
I think that's great. I think, man, like, for me, it's about being real.
Yeah.
Like, if you're real with yourself and real to others, that's seen and demonstrated. People know when you're being real, when you're being fake. And so if you can be real with the the change that Jesus has done in your life, right? That will overflow and outwork itself through your life. And so people will see that, and then they'll maybe ask questions, or they'll talk about it themselves, or go a little bit deeper. You get what I'm saying? And so it has to be this genuine. What's another word for genuine? Authentic.
Yeah.
It has to be authentic and be honest with it. And if you've got that change in your heart, then people will see that in their world.
Yeah.
And I just think as well, like, someone said to me, it's like, you're always being watched. Like, never forget that you're being watched, whether it's
Not in a creepy way.
Sometimes in a creepy way.
Yeah, I mean, you gotta watch that. But for good or for bad, we have the ability to influence the people around us, and I think it's important that we recognize sometimes the responsibility that we hold as well.
Yeah.
For those people in our world, we can change their perspective on Jesus and on Christ in a moment, and it's like whether we decide to do that or not.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, I think our lives, personally, I feel like our lives then become the platform where we get to speak from.
Yeah.
I don't know, I've always kind of thought of it like that, because I know when we read Gospels and we read the New Testament, it says those who call upon the name of the Lord will be saved. So it's like, someone can't be saved unless they call on the name of the Lord, which is their word. So they have to hear it first, but they have to see it. It has to be attractive. But I guess how do we share with people about Jesus? I don't know, sometimes, I don't know about you, sometimes I get the feeling like I want to talk about God more than I want to talk about Jesus, because it's kind of easier to talk about God than to talk about a specific Jesus, because you can almost come across being weird when you talk about Jesus. I don't know, do you feel what I mean?
Yeah. I get what you're saying. And I think it's, you know, even like Gary's talked about it loads, it's like, how do we see Jesus? You know what I mean? Like, often we talk about it on Sunday, like often we'll just see Jesus as the access to, or the bypass. Like, if I just, get Jesus, but now I need to get God, like, forgetting that Jesus is God. When we talk about God, we're talking about Jesus. When we talk about Jesus, we're talking about God. It is one. And so it's trying to just diminish that weirdness of the separation of it, and go, Jesus is God, God is Jesus. We're going to talk about that. And so, man, I think it's about how we see Jesus is how we're going to talk about Jesus. And that will, if we feel weird about it, maybe it's because we've separated it a little bit. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
How do you feel when you're, like, sharing about Jesus?
Honestly, I think I'm still warming up to that. For some of my non-Christian friends, it is definitely a little bit harder, because they tend just to not ask questions and just leave out. But like with my family, not everyone's saved, and that's massively played a part. Them seeing what I do, and then being like leading from that, and then leading into that. So I just let rip then. As soon as they ask about it, I'm all for it, and just open up, and it be as weird as you think it might be.
But that's what I was saying before. It's like, it's sharing the good news. But even like when there's stuff going on in your life and stuff, the way we respond, like, the good news is Jesus gives us hope.
Yeah.
Right? And so even like, we shouldn't respond to the stuff going on in the world as the world responds to it.
Yeah.
We should respond to it in a different way, which that in itself will cause people to stop, stare, take note and listen, and now inquire about, why are you so different? Like, are you on some wacky world? No. I've just got Jesus, and let me tell you about the good news of Jesus, and he has given me this hope. So that's how I can get through this stuff. And I think sometimes, man, we can feel weird about it, but we just have to have this boldness and this courage, because if you genuinely believe in something, you will talk about it.
Yeah.
You will be an ambassador for it. Like, you know what, like, I don't know, you love riding bikes, you love cooking, right?
He knows me.
Like, you talk about it. The reason I know it is because you talk about it, you demonstrate it. So if you love what Jesus has done in your life and it is affecting you, you're going to talk about it, you're going to live it out, and people are going to know you for that.
Yeah.
For sure.
I think ultimately, like, people have to call on Jesus to be saved as well. So, yeah, and we have to speak boldly about Jesus. So it's like you have to know Jesus to speak about Jesus so people can know Jesus.
Yeah.
And, you know, this is just the tip of the iceberg. This is just some of our experience. Take it apart, pull it apart, come to terms with, you know, we want you guys to really figure out how you can boldly share the gospel through your words and through your actions and really be salt and light in this world. So have a great crew tonight. Love you. Bye. Bye now. Bye-bye.